Good evening to you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another edition of your Darling Outlook, State of the State, on this channel. I am Sunday Kolawole. Today we'll be taking a look at the unending war against drug trafficking and substance abuse in Nigeria. And the conversation will be piloted this evening by the spokesperson and director, media and advocacy, the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Mr. Femi Babafemi. He joins me all the way from Abuja via Zoom. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Babafemi.
Thank you. Good evening. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Now, let's set the ball rolling. It seems there's been a lot of advocacy, fight against drug abuse. As a matter of fact, every Sunday, the NDLEA releases statements on success stories in the fight against drugs trafficking. And in this instance, one tends to want to ask if this is an exaggeration of the status quo or an indication of success. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you the kind of challenge we have on our hands when it comes to the problem of substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking. It's not what you just bandy figures around. Is what really entails that at all times we have to continue to stay focused and continue to do what we need to do to ensure that we mop up, we cut access and availability of these illicit substances. So what we're doing definitely it's achieving two things. One, cutting access and availability of these illicit substances, and on the other hand, also sensitizing and raising awareness about the reality of our situation, which actually came to the fore way back in 2018 when the report of the drug use survey in Nigeria was published, which then painted a very grim picture of what the drug use situation in Nigeria was as at then. That's some 7 years ago, giving us a figure of 14.3 million Nigerians who have abused illicit substances the previous year. That's a whole lot, 14.3 million, which again translates to 14.4% prevalence average when you talk of when compared to the global prevalence average of 5.6%. So indeed what we're doing, it's an indication that we have this problem, but then all efforts are ongoing to ensure that we deal with the situation. We bring them under control, and that's exactly why you see some of those information we put out there in our weekly statement.
Well, weekly statement, does it relate or amount to weekly success, or does it therefore mean that despite the onslaught against traffickers and substance abusers, it seems that this whole thing is not subsiding yet? Does it mean that your agency is being overwhelmed, or what?
No. Definitely, there are success stories. Just okay. Let me give you an instance. For instance, today I can tell you that where we are as a country is far away from where we used to be some 4-5-6 years ago. That I can tell you, because when you look at the volume of illicit substances that we have mopped up from circulation just in the last 4.5 years, I can tell you that we've had more than that should be 11.1 million kilograms of assorted illicit substances. You know what that means? That's huge. 11.1 million kilograms of assorted illicit substances. Just imagine if a fraction of that had escaped into our communities, into our cities, what impact that would have, not only on public health but even on law and order and the safety and security of our people. So indeed, that is a whole lot of success story. Even though we are not there yet, as in to say that we have gotten to that point where we will not still have this, where we will not have this challenge, where because a lot of is beyond beyond supply reduction. What we're doing with those arrests, seizures, and prosecution, that's supply reduction. We also have some other responsibility in the area of drug demand reduction, where we raise awareness, where we sensitize the people about the dangers of substance abuse, and then where we also provide support for those who are already struggling with substance abuse, and even ensure that they are reintegrated back into their families and into their communities. So there are quite a lot of activities, there are quite a lot of work. But then again, I would also like to say that this is beyond an agency of government, is beyond what Ondo State government or Governor Ayedatiwa or even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu or even the NDLA alone can handle. It's a whole lot of, it's a collective thing, because it's we all may end up as victims if we all don't put our hands on it and do something in our own sphere of influence. That's why one of our strategies is a whole of government approach and a whole of society approach.
Well, Mr. Obafemi, I'm just a journalist. I'm not dealing with narcotics law enforcement. You deal with that. So permit me to still stay on this matter because it's very important. Every week you nab people who are into trafficking and abuse of substance. Every week you come to the people and say, look, we have done this, we have done that. Now, one thing that keeps striking is the fact that Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport comes under sport, Murtala Mohammed International Airport comes under sport, and several other airports like that in Nigeria. And beyond the airports, you also have sports around almost every state of the federation. What do we say then? Onslaught against them every week, increase in their activities. How do we juxtapose this with success story on the job?
Yes, absolutely. Don't forget that the drug the drug problem is a global phenomenon, is a global challenge, is not what is peculiar to Nigeria alone. So that's why if you also see the response is a global response. That's why we, apart from working with other stakeholders in Nigeria, we also network and work with all our counterparts across the world, whether in Europe, Asia, America, even Africa here. So we have to, so because it's a global challenge, so that we all, the world has to come together and collectively respond to it. So that said, the issue is, apart from the fact that it's a global challenge, it's also a multi-billion-dollar industry. And people look, some people see it not the way you and I see it, not the way you and I see it as a criminal thing. Some people see it as their livelihood, their means of livelihood, as a business that they just have to do as a result of their greed, as a result of their desperation to want to make money at all costs, to want to live large. And that's why, despite the fact that we arrest people, we bring this information to the public, even with their videos, with their pictures and all of this, and even when they have to even go through trial, prosecution, and then convicted and sentenced to jail terms, that still will not deter some people. And that's why, in addition to it will still not deter some people. In addition to what all of those things that we do, one other thing that we are also doing at the moment to further strengthen our the deterrence effect of what we do is to go after their assets, because the whole essence of what they are doing is to acquire wealth to buy houses, to have fat bank accounts. And so we have a full directorate called the Directorate of Assets and Financial Investigation at the moment that is going after all the bank accounts and the properties acquired from the process of this criminal trade. So that's because there are quite a lot of them that they don't really mind to go to prison, to go to jail for 5-10 years, as long as their bank accounts are intact, as long as their houses, their luxury vehicles are intact out there. So they wouldn't mind to stay in prison for 5 years and then come back and still meet all of those things intact. So one of the things we have done is to ensure that, okay, when you are caught with this, you are prosecuted, you are sent to jail, we deny you your freedom, we deny you these illicit substances by seizing them. We prosecute you, we send you to prison. We go after all of these things that you have acquired from from this criminal trade and ensure that you have nothing to fall back to come out to meet. So we take, we get their bank accounts forfeited to government, we get their houses, their vehicles forfeited to government, and that, I tell you, is really, really working, because that's the only way we can break the incentive, because that's the incentive for them. Okay. Yeah, that's the only way we can deny them
come back to
of
this
enjoying
issue, Mr. Obafemi, because issue of the incentive, the proceeds of the crime, and all that, it's really causing maybe a ripple of conversation, as it were. But we'll come back to it. Let me still deal with this issue, and then let's put paid to it. The unending fight against drugs. I give it to you from your explanation. Of course, the NDLEA is doing its best to really deal with this matter. But is it safe to say we have not got to the root of the matter, or there are greater forces than the NDLEA in the fight against this menace? Hence, the unending war. I'm choosing my words carefully, Mr. Afemi. Unending war against this crime, because it's indeed a very big issue, a big deal on our hands, if you agree with me.
Yeah, like I was saying, like I told you, this has to do with human greed. This has to do with human lust for wealth. And so desperation comes in when you have all of this in place. And we also have to, there is one other key factor that we also have to take into consideration, and that is the upbringing of a lot of people. How are they raised?
Okay.
What are the moral values that these people stick to, or that these people hold high? So, for instance, you and I, when we're growing up, definitely there are certain things we cannot do, because apart from the fact that we're brought up to understand that those things are wrong, they are not right, the fact that you have parents who ask questions, who will hold you accountable, it's enough to make you not want to go, put your hands into what will bring embarrassment or disgrace to the family. And so these days, you discover that quite a lot of parents are no longer parenting. You don't have that intentional parenting like we used to have in those days. You don't have parents that instill
discipline,
right virtues, right values, discipline in their kids. They don't really care. Parents or children, they don't really care the kind of friends they keep. They don't really care what the values these children hold value, appreciate. So all of those things, intentional parenting and moral values, we are in a period where those things are actually we're losing grip of all those things. So those are also
part of the root causes
responsible for some of this. So exactly. So we have to go back to intentional parenting, where parents really look after their children to actually ensure that they are in line, they are taught the right principles, the right morals, the right values as they grow up, as they go out there into the society. Those things will stick with them and ensure that they know that they have a family name that they have to protect. They have a heritage that they have to cherish and protect, rather than going into doing the wrong things.
Okay. I think to a large extent that to me is also part of advocacy and also engaging the right stakeholders in dealing with this problem. Before we go on our first break on this conversation, I like to, you pointed out certain things that to me, they look like the issues of the local factor in dealing with this matter. But if you agree with me, dealing with crimes that have to do with drug abuse, drug trafficking is of international dimension. So I like to know how well, indeed, is your agency eliciting international support in the fight against this international crime?
Indeed, I'll tell you that that's one of greatest strength. Like I did say, that this is a global challenge. It's not what any country can respond to in isolation. No, you have to work. You have to work within a global network. So that is one area that the NDLA, indeed under the leadership of General Marwa, has done extremely well. I'll tell you that today we have working relationship, partnership, joint operations, and even memorandum of understanding with quite a lot of our partners across the world, talking of the International Narcotics and Law Enforcement in the US, talking of the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, that's the USDA, also that's in the US, coming to to Europe, talking of Border Force in UK, talking of National Crime Agency in UK, talking of Narcotics Bureau, Narcotics Control Bureau in India, in Saudi Arabia, German police, French police. All of those across these countries, we have very good working relationships with them. I'll tell you that even our sniffer dogs that we use today, they are trained and provided by the Germans.
It seems we're having
all of this. Apart from training, logistics, we work on a lot of intelligence from this organization. Okay, apart from logistics and training that we benefit from all of these foreign partners, again, we enjoy a lot of intelligence sharing from them. We share intelligence with them, they share with us, and we conduct joint operations. So all of these have really worked to indeed, that we couldn't have, achieved some feats without this kind of collaborations. I'll tell you, in 2022, when we had the biggest seizure of cocaine in somewhere in Ikorodu in Lagos, that's 2.1 tons. That's 2,139 kg of cocaine. That's the highest in the history of this nation. That was as a result of our collaboration with our international partners. So that's huge, and indeed, so those are the kind of things we've achieved, that we're achieving, and will continue to achieve with our partners.
All right. So we've been having this conversation on the partnerships you enjoy and how to really enhance the fight against drug abuse. Now,
our relationship with all of these our international partners.
All right. So we will look into what exactly has been the level of advocacy in Nigeria and beyond, especially leveraging on all of these advocacies that you've had. But that will be after this break, everyone. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
The global illicit drug trade presents a multifaceted challenge that touches the lives of millions worldwide, from individuals struggling with substance use disorders to communities grappling with the consequences of drug trafficking and organized crime. The impact of drugs is far-reaching and complex. International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day, established in 1987, is observed annually on 26th June to strengthen action and cooperation in achieving a world free of drug abuse. Joining in this year's event is the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Ondo State, as well as the Nigeria Police Force, Ondo State Amotekun Corps, Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC), Nigeria Immigration Service, and students from secondary schools across the state, collaborating to raise awareness on the dangers attached to the intake of these illegal substances. Ondo State NDLEA Commander Nanzan Sala noted that this year, over 100 people have been arrested in connection with illicit drug trafficking and have been charged to court, ascribing the success to the collaborative efforts of sister agencies.
Our effort first has to do with the collaboration with other sister agencies because nobody can do it alone. And by our mandate, we are engaged in arrest and investigation, subsequently to prosecutions, and then we also render drug demand reduction, which has to do with counseling those who are already hooked to problems of drugs, and then creating public awareness against the dangers of drugs. So towards this effort, we'll be making a lot of arrests and seizures. We'll be making also convictions and forfeitures of assets of criminals in order to discourage them from the illicit business.
We want parents, wards, teachers, and guidance to ensure that they take proper note of the behavior of their wards. At times, search their bags to be sure that they have not joined bad groups that indulge in the abuse of drugs.
Medical professionals who x-rayed the prevalence of the use of illicit drugs in the state and Nigeria called for stringent measures to curb the menace.
If you are looking at the way out of this current situation, you must be looking at it from a multidimensional perspective. One, you must be thinking about how to involve every segment of our society in the awareness campaign against drug abuse. All of us have to know something about drug abuse. The market women, the artisans, the young people, the youth, the students in our various institutions of learning, the apprentices here and there, the professionals, the teachers, all of us have to be involved. Massive awareness campaign against abnormal use of drugs.
The government needs to enforce the law that guides importation of drugs. NAFDAC is trying. We have to support it, and government should have the political will to support NAFDAC and the Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria. They are these two. The NDLA, they are doing a good job. But they must be in partnership with all these two other organizations.
The stakeholders described this year's theme, Evidence is Clear, Invest in Prevention, as apt, as it highlights the need for urgent, evidence-based protective measures in addressing the world's drug problem. Joy Pius, OSRC News.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, critical stakeholders speaking there on efforts at stemming the tide of substance abuse in Nigeria. And still very much with me via Zoom is the spokesperson of the agency saddled with the responsibility of enforcing the laws of our land against drug abuse and trafficking in Nigeria, Mr. Femi Babafemi. Thank you so much for still being with me on State of the State.
Thank you for having me.
Now, your own area of responsibility to me is that area of advocacy, which is very important in the fight against drugs. That's your specific area of responsibility. And so I'd like to know, how well is this NDLEA faring in the aspect of advocacy? Is the advocacy yielding the desired result if we still find not pockets now, but this very, very concerning level of drug abuse and trafficking in Nigeria, despite all of the international collaboration and all of the things we've talked about? All right, I think we have a challenge with the network there. Let's quickly have yet another break to now reconnect, and then we'll be right back, everyone. Please stay with us.